Being too good is an invitation to be ignored. Have you ever felt this? You donate, you help, you care. But in the end, you are always the last one to be remembered. People look for you when they need you, and disappear when you are the one in need. At work, you deliver everything, but recognition goes to those who speak the loudest. In relationships, you are loyal, present, true, and yet you are discarded by someone who told you you were special. Why? Why is it that the nicer you are, the less people respect you? Why does being fair so often lead to loneliness? The truth is uncomfortable but impossible to ignore. Society says it values kindness, empathy, justice, but those who rise are the strategic ones. Those who command are those who understand a silent rule. The world does not reward those who are good, but those who understand the game. And that's where a man comes in, the most hated in political philosophy, the one most accused of coldness, manipulation, and cynicism. Machiavelli. Today we're going to explore hard truths with the coldness of those who have seen power for what it is. No illusions, no filters, just bare reality. Because maybe, just maybe, it's your misplaced kindness that's destroying your chances of being respected. Have you ever been that person everyone looks to when they have problems, but no one remembers when things are resolved? The one who holds others up, but is left aside when he needs support. Maybe you were the employee who always stayed late, who solved problems that weren't even yours, hoping someone would notice. Maybe it was the friend who listened to everyone, but when he vented, he only saw silence. Or the loving partner who gave everything, but was exchanged for someone who didn't even give half. The truth is bitter. The world doesn't treat people well if they play fair all the time. The good guy, the one who never complains, who always says yes, who forgives quickly and avoids conflicts, is the same person who ends up ignored, forgotten, outdated. Because in a society governed by appearances and interests, those who do not impose limits lose value. And the cruelest? The more you try to please, the more people see you as weak. Kindness, when not accompanied by a strategy, becomes an invitation for abuse. Maybe you've already felt this without being able to put it into words. The frustration of being good and still being left behind. The contained anger of seeing manipulative people being promoted, selfish people being desired, cold people being respected, and you, with all your effort, being left aside as if it didn't matter. It is in this kind of world that Machiavelli wrote, a world where naivety is punished, where morals are manipulated, where kindness, alone, is just another disposable piece on the board. It was in front of this world that a man dared to write what no one wanted to hear. He didn't try to paint reality in pretty colors. He observed power without filters, politics without masks, and wrote about what he really saw. Games of interest, calculated betrayals, kindness used as a trap, promises as bargaining chips. Machiavelli was not a monster. He was just someone who had the courage to look at the world as it is, not as we would like it to be. He didn't write about how to be good. He wrote about how to be effective, and that changes everything. For Machiavelli, morality is not a limit, it is a tool. Something you can use or discard, depending on the situation. He understood that those who survive are not the most virtuous, but the most lucid. Those who don't wait for justice, but build strategy. Those who don't believe in right, but in what works. He was hated because he said what no one wanted to accept. That to win, sometimes you have to abandon the illusion of being good and start being smart. From here on out, you will no longer hear advice about how to be loved. You will hear truths about how not to be crushed. Because in his words, the world is not led by justice. The world is driven by perception, fear, power, and calculation. And if you still think it's enough to be good, maybe you're already losing a game you didn't even realize started. Machiavelli's laws are cold, merciless, uncomfortable, but ignoring them is like entering a warfield unarmed. There is no justice here. There is a strategy. Law 1. The ends justify the means. Machiavelli never wrote that sentence in those words. But the idea is there, raw, undeniable, uncomfortable. In the power game, what matters is the result. The world doesn't care if you were honest, loyal, well-intentioned. He wants to know if you won, and if you won, few care about the path you took. Think about it. How many people who reached the top were questioned for every step they took? And how many were applauded simply because they worked? Society likes to reward winners, not fair ones. And this is the mistake of those who are too good, thinking that the intention weighs more than the delivery. But in the real world, no one rewards you for trying. They reward you for achieving. What Machiavelli understood, and what many still refuse to accept, is that morality becomes irrelevant when faced with success. Not because it's despicable, but because the world doesn't have time to measure purity. It measures impact. You can be impeccable, ethical, compassionate, and be ignored. Or you can be a strategist, cold, calculating, and be heard, respected, feared. Not because it's fair, but because it is effective. If this revolts you, perhaps you are still attached to an ideal that the real world has already left behind. If that frees you, maybe you're ready to play for real. Law 2. Virtue is action, not intention. In the real world, no one sees what you feel, just what you do. Pure intention without concrete attitude is invisible. And worse, it sounds like an excuse. Machiavelli understood that the value of a person does not lie in the nobility of the ideas he carries in his chest, but in the courage to act when the moment demands it. Virtue, for him, was not about kindness. It was about strength, clarity, decision. The problem with the good guy is this: he waits. He hopes they notice his effort, his loyalty, his dedication. He waits for someone to recognize him, to value him, to protect him. But while he waits, the world moves on, and whoever walks, wins. Because power is not given to those who deserve it. It is taken by whoever acts. People don't follow people who have good intentions, follow those who impose themselves. They don't admire those who are kind all the time. They respect those who know how to say no at the right time. Virtue without action becomes weakness. It becomes an omission. It becomes irrelevance. Machiavelli knew that acting, even if harshly, is more noble than hiding behind morality and waiting for justice. Because in the end, those who don't act are acted. Law 3. It is better to be feared than loved. This is perhaps Machiavelli's most famous and most misunderstood phrase. He never said you must be cruel, insensitive, or tyrannical. What he said is simple. If you have to choose between being loved and being feared, choose to be feared. And why? Because people's love is volatile. It changes with mood, with time, with interests. One day they love you, the next they forget you. One slip, one absence, one contrary opinion, and all the affection disappears. The fear remains. It generates respect, distance, caution. It prevents abuse, and most importantly, it protects. How many times have you been too kind and been stepped on? How many times have you tried to be the cool one, the approachable one, and been disrespected? You think you're being loved, when in reality you're just being seen as someone easy to ignore. Machiavelli was not against love. He just acknowledged that, in the real world, he can't be trusted. And you felt it. He's already donated, he's already cared, he's already loved, and he ended up hurt. Because love alone does not protect. Fear, yes, he doesn't command you to be hated. On the contrary, hate breeds conspiracy. What he proposes is firmness, presence, limits, being the type of person who, when entering a place, commands respect before opening their mouth. Because those who are wisely feared are rarely attacked. Law 4. people choose to be slaves. This is one of Machiavelli's most uncomfortable ideas, and perhaps one of the truest. Most people don't want freedom. You want security. You want predictability. You want someone to tell you what to do, what to think, what to follow. Freedom is scary. Freedom demands responsibility. And for this reason, without realizing it, many prefer to obey and call it peace. They complain about systems, leaders, injustices. But if you offer real independence, the response is fear. Because being free requires you to take control, and controlling your own life is more difficult than simply blaming others. Machiavelli realized this early. The masses need leaders, even if they are oppressive. You need direction, even if it costs you your dignity. That's why so many cling to dogmas, positions, parties, bosses, gurus, not out of conviction, but out of relief. Because deciding for yourself hurts. And when someone dares to break that cycle, when they refuse to be part of the herd, it bothers them, annoys. It awakens hatred. Not because she's bad, but because it exposes, without saying a word, the cowardice of those who conformed. The truth is that many prefer chains, and they hate anyone who shows up to remind them that they exist. Law 5. Wear masks. Machiavelli knew, whoever shows everything he is becomes vulnerable. In the game of power, total transparency is not a virtue. It is a weakness. The world doesn't reward those who are true all the time. Rewards those who know how to protect themselves. And to do that, you need to learn how to wear masks. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Almost no one sees you for what you really are. And that's exactly why the image matters more than the essence. Not because the essence is worthless, but because almost no one looks deep enough to see it. You can be wise, fair, righteous, but if you appear insecure, you will be treated as weak. You may have noble intentions, but if you show neediness, they will exploit you. It might be good, but if it doesn't feel strong, it will be discarded. The mask is not falsehood. It's defense. It's strategy. It's what keeps your most precious truths from being used against you. Machiavelli doesn't tell you to lie. He tells you to hide, save, control what others see, reveal only what is necessary. Because whoever is completely readable is easily manipulated. Those who survive and thrive are not always the most authentic. They are the ones who know how to be enigmatic, the ones that leave others in doubt, those who never completely deliver their game. In the real world, truth is a treasure, and every treasure needs to be well guarded. The world is a game. Machiavelli didn't create the rules. He just described those that were already there. He was not wicked. He was lucid. He was hated because he exposed a reality that many prefer to pretend doesn't exist. You can ignore these laws. You can keep trying to be understood, loved, rewarded for your kindness. You can insist on believing that life is fair and that you just need to do good for good to return. But perhaps it's time to face it. This is a comforting and dangerous illusion. You were trained to be good, but he was never trained to be strong. They never taught you that kindness without firmness becomes submission, that morality without strategy becomes sacrifice, that being good without knowing how to play is the quickest way to be discarded. Now that you know the game, will you continue to play fair, or will you learn to play correctly? The choice was never between being good or being bad. The choice is between being naive or being aware.